gas, farting, all those kind of embarrassing things that we know about, or we kind of giggle at, in the locker room or the back thing. But, there's a big thing that's going on with people. People don't know how to stop it. Sometimes you get an overproduction of gas, or, it because of a problem in your life, or it could be indicative of other things. Well, today we're going to talk about the science of gas, or the science of farting. It's kind of a fun topic, but it's also a serious topic. And, how can you avoid this forever? How to get rid of it? Foods that might cause you to be gassy, what you can do about it, and what does it mean, and what's the science behind this whole thing. And we're happy today because we're joined today with Katrine Valinsky, Optimizers, and you guys about this whole topic about gas and the science of farting and how we can kind of maximize it. So I'm really excited about today's topic. So Katrine, thanks for joining us today.
Well, thank you, Wade, for having me on.
So what is it, what does this mean? I mean, in some cultures, farting is seen to be a great thing and an awesome thing. In other places, you're like, oh God, I'm at the dinner table, of course, it's a silent but deadly, and then there's the loud one. What does all this mean, and what's going on in the body actually?
Well, what you don't realize that even the people that don't, let's say, pass gas, that smell or that has the loud sound, still pass gas every day, probably 14 to 18 times a day. That's the average time a person passes gas during the day. Just for some people, those don't have the component that make it smelly, or they don't have the muscles inside of their large intestine that basically prevent the sound from happening. So basically, the composition of your gas that you're passing will determine how smelly it is, or how flammable it is.
Right. So basically, all gas isn't the same. It might have a different amount of gases in combination to it. So what would that be?
Yes, so let's rewind a little bit. Okay. And how does this even happen? How does gas get built up
right.
in our gut?
It's a fascinating topic.
Well, it is actually a product of chemical processes inside of your body, especially in the gut. When we eat the food and we chew it, and it goes into our stomachs where it gets acidified and gets broken down, and it goes into our small intestine to break it down more by the digestive enzymes to get absorbed into the bloodstream. Whatever does not get absorbed and needs to break down more and has, let's say, larger particles, goes into your large colon in your intestine, and that's where the gas starts originating. And this is where we have a lot of different bacteria growing together, what we call nowadays the microbiome. So this is like communities and colonies of different bacteria that are happening in there. And depending on what kind of food you're consuming and what kind of combination of those bacteria you have in your gut, and how slow, let's say, the food is moving through the body, or how fast, you will have the build-up of the natural byproducts of fermentation and respiratory processes by those bacteria. So, of course, if you have, slow bowels and you have a build-up of those gases, you will have more larger, smelly, a lot of times, gas relieving happening. And for other people, the combination of even if their, let's say, bowels are not moving as fast, the combination of bacteria that's in the gut that's producing the gases will create a gas that is not as smelly. And actually, the smell factor is governed by how much sulfur compounds you have in your gut. So most of the gases they have a wide variety of composition. You have 5 main gases. You have the methane, you have the nitrogen, you have the carbon dioxide, you have the methane, you have the hydrogen, and you have a little bit of oxygen. So this is the 5 gases that comprise it. The most prevalent one is nitrogen, and then we have a larger portion of hydrogen and 10% of oxygen, maybe 10% of the other 2. So, but it really
so methane, oxygen, and hydrogen, those would be the flammable
those
ones,
are the flammable
right?
Those are the,
That's the
those are the cartoons.
Right.
Yeah, that's where it actually comes from, right? So, but how those gases combine and the process of the internal mechanisms and how much sulfur will determine how smelly it is. Actually, only 1% of those gases will be smelly. But how intense the smell is depending on the combination of those in the gut, basically.
So there's some truth to the old, if I'm eating, beans and eggs and beer and pickled products or these sort of things, that I may increase the change that gas that makes it smell more or more frequent.
It's not just the foods, it's also, do you have the bacteria in your gut to be able to digest those foods? So some people don't have problems with the beans because they have enough the bacteria and the enzymes to be able to break down the really complex polysaccharides like the beans are. Or, if you soak your beans and legumes before you consume them, you can decrease some of those enzyme inhibitors that prevent them from being easily digested by the body. So
legumes, beans, seeds, all of these things that might be contributed if they've been soaked beforehand, oftentimes they don't cause the same amount of problems.
Right, and also we have the sulfur foods, let's say the sulfur vegetables like broccoli and Brussels sprouts and let's say cabbage, things like that. So for a lot of people that could be a problem because again they don't have the gut bacteria to be able to digest them or have hard time breaking down those fibers and they don't have enough enzymes. And it gets worse with age for people because they lose enzymatic potential.
Right. This is a big issue, and Dr. Howell talked about it in his book, Enzyme Nutrition, about how as we age, oftentimes a lot of these conditions start to get because we don't have enough enzymes, or we might have an alteration, like Dr. Shinya talked about the bacteria cultures inside the body, that you need some of these bacteria. And if you're having gas from foods that you're eating, oftentimes you can address this by just changing your bacteria or changing your enzyme content of your food or adding these supplemental products.
Absolutely. The other common one is dairy. A lot of people don't even have genetically the enzyme that help you digest lactase,
right? Yes.
Which is the sugar inside of the dairy.
Yeah, lactose. You need lactase. So people are pretty calm on that one, but it can happen with various proteins or carbohydrates or lactase, and that could be based on eating patterns that you inherited from your family or genetic discrepancies or just lifestyle conditions.
Yeah, it's a combination of things, and with lactase and dairy, for a lot of people, they might not notice it. Some people have a reaction right away, but even if they don't notice it, it can actually build up problems in the gut and feed the wrong bacteria and cause smaller issues that you might notice right away, but it will combine into a whole bunch of other problems, digestive issues. So dairy, beans, cruciferous vegetables, those are the usual, culprits. Sugars that can ferment, and improper food combining. Actually, if you already have digestive problems and you're not taking digestive aids, if you ate a whole bunch of protein, let's say if you had a steak and then you put ice cream on top of it.
Right, they're common, right? You have to bring out the ice cream, the dessert tray, I'm going crazy.
Exactly, so there you compound, you got the lactose, you got the sugar, and those things usually get digested faster than the protein. And if you're already lacking stomach acid and you're already lacking enzymes, those will sit and ferment, and you got the sugar on top of it. It's explosive condition.
Right.
Yeah, that's where you get the bloating and the gas and those crazy conditions that can follow that, right? So that's a combination of things that can happen. Some of the starches, people might also have problems with not having enough digestive enzymes to digest those. They eat like potatoes, sweet potatoes, some grains. Gluten is a huge culprit. If you have gluten intolerance or even sensitivity, that will also create a condition where your microbiome will start changing. You will have changes in your the amount of gases and their combinations that will cause you to have flatulence, right? So this is something you might want to be keeping out of your diet as well. And for some people who are also sensitive, like something called food maps, that's the onions and garlic and all the sulfur vegetables and sugars. Those are all part of the food maps. Free oligosaccharides, basically, it's like a whole bunch of the things that can make you more sensitive and create changes in gut flora and changes in combination of gases and flatulence. So all of those things combined, so all of it is digestive issues, not having enough digestive enzymes or consuming the wrong foods, consuming them at the wrong time, or being stressed, changing the gut flora again from that point of view, right? So all of those things can contribute to different amounts of gas leaving the body. and building up, and also slowing down the digestion and slowing down the rate of movement of bowels. So that can all contribute to having problems with gas.
Well, that's a lot of information. So let's say someone out there is suffering from, excessive gas, and they're really, it's embarrassing, and they're having problems. What would you do, say, if there's like maybe 3 or 4 easy steps? What would you say that someone can do to address that right off the bat?
First of all, again, if you have excessive gas, and that's accompanied with a whole bunch of other symptoms, heartburn, acid reflux, loss of weight, blood in the stool, like something more significant, you might want to get checked out by a doctor, just making sure that there isn't a more dangerous condition that's happening than digestion issues that can combine and become a dangerous condition later on. But definitely, if you already have those going, go get checked out. This is something you want to take a look at and just not let it be. But if it is continuous and not having any of those other symptoms, then it's definitely a product of digestion. You wanting to be looking into changing your diet, looking for the trigger foods, cleaning up some of those foods that I talked about, using exercise and using stretching and yoga, movements to help you move the gas through the body. Things like probiotics will help you change the flora to a better flora combinations in your gut that can also relieve some of these conditions. Avoiding getting dehydrated, things like alcohol, eating slowly, not eating too fast, because if you eat too fast and basically take in too much oxygen, it can also build up pockets of gases and can cause you problems. So watch out how you eat, chew your food. That's definitely part of this whole picture. And basic lifestyle interventions. You definitely, if you're having a lot of gas and it's really causing you problems, you definitely want to take a look at your food and digestive aids.
So if you're looking at, let's say, if you're looking at natural digestive aids like enzymes or probiotics, or trying to address the microbiome, we talk about that in some of the education series. You can check that out on our website. How long does it take? Because a lot of people think that it's instant act, and we want to do, what is the typical time frame for someone to maybe integrate some of these along with dietary changes? How long would you expect?
Well, it's very different from person to person. Some people react to it really fast. Within a couple of weeks you can change. You can feel the change. You can start feeling better, a little more energy, better digestion. For some people, it can take up to 90 days, or longer. You just have to stick with it. You will feel different if you start cleaning those up. Sometimes reactions to dairy or things like that, even if you're not having, let's say, dairy for a while, you can still have the antibodies and the lactose intolerances. So it can be still in there. So that's when you want to be using enzymes and probiotics, some of the herbal bitters and digestive herbs like fennel, fenugreek, cardamom. A lot of those available in tea form or just in tincture or just in consumption. Aloe is a great product as well to help you with digestion. L-glutamine to help with your gut. So all of those type of things combined with addressing your food, your lifestyle, your stress levels, you can see a shift in a few months if you stick with it for sure. And for some people, much quicker than that. Sometimes it just takes a week or a couple of weeks to see a huge difference.
Yeah, I know one of the things that I've worked with clients for over the years is oftentimes we'll go into a relatively restrictive phase, and then we just kind of test a product, test the food, test the thing, and see what happens.
It's called elimination diet for a lot of people. So you eliminate all those problem factors, and then later on, after the cleaning kind of stage, you start adding things back in, and you feel how you're feeling. Okay, is this food is really a problem for me, or it could have been something else. So you start testing those out and seeing what you can get away with and what really is a problem. And if you're really serious about it, you can get your stool tested for antibodies and make sure that you don't actually have an ongoing issue. And if you do, you want to be staying away from those food all the time as much as possible, right? Because it will definitely create a reaction and possibly an autoimmune reaction in the future. So.
Wow, so that's a lot of information, and it's really great. That's kind of diving into the science, and of course, if you're looking for lifestyle change, make sure you check out the blog and the site. Of course, you're available if you have questions and things like that to access her. Again, you can't emphasize this enough. I mean, when you're talking about digestion, is making sure you're eating the right foods, doing the lifestyle things, maybe in adding some digestive aids, staying hydrated, common sense stuff, and then if it's really a problem, just getting rid of those foods that are causing the problem.
Absolutely.
Hey, so thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you learned something about the science of gas. Eliminate those embarrassing moments forever. I hope you enjoyed the show today, and thank you again. If you want to find out more information, just please stop into the site at Bioptimizers, and we'll see you soon.